Well, and welcome to the Go Spurs Go Memes podcast number 10, live but recorded from the Go Spurs Go Memes studios. I am your host, Ray, and as always, I am joined by my merry crew of men. I am right here to my right. I have my friend Sean. Mr. Sean, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing great, Ray. I'm just wringing out my socks right now. That flick came up high.
I'm also joined by Jack, the intern. Jack, how are you, my friend?
It's doing pretty good. Do you like my Halloween costume?
I do like your Halloween costume.
Can you guess what it is?
A&M student?
Sleeveless sweatshirt.
Unabomber?
I lost my visor. I'm a mix between Kevin Sumlin and Bill Belichick.
Oh, I would have never guessed that in a million years.
I like it, though.
And, of course, we are joined also by Buddy, the engineer, on the mix board over there. And, of course, Frank, the producer, is here rubbing his head. Frank had an amazing day today at the air show off at Randolph Air Force Base. So Frank is kind of tired right now. But he had a wonderful day today. So what's going on, guys? How was your week? I haven't seen you guys in a couple of days. So how are things going?
Doing great. Very excited for the Spurs being back and playing regular season basketball.
Finally.
You actually get to see starters play more than a quarter, which is very nice and refreshing to see.
It really is. Jack, how about you, buddy?
Yeah, it's all good. The Aggies started to play again, so I can talk about Aggies now. Yeah. And it's been a good week.
Good.
It was a good time.
It was, yes.
And Ray,
yes.
yourself?
I had a fantastic week. Of course, Wednesday we kicked off the season. Fantastic games. All excited. Home opener on Friday. And then, of course, we had another game today. So, of course, over the span of a week, we've had 3 Spurs games, which have just been fantastic. Like you said, get to see the full roster, the 15 guys that are on there. Of course, we do have 2 inactives that are going kind of on and off. But being able to just see the guys out there playing, there's still some concerns, I think, that the teams kind of haven't. But, you can start to see the chemistry start to going. But when they're in sync, they're on fire. And I think we really saw that Friday night with the against the Nets. You really saw that once. Tale of two halves. The first half wasn't too good. Second half is where they just kind of kicked it into fifth and just kaboom, exactly. Anyways, I think it's time for the news. All right, so let's see what's going on in the NBA. So, of course, Adidas unveiled their brand new uniforms that the teams will be wearing for Christmas Day. We did get a preview of the Spurs and Rockets uniform.
They look good.
They do look good, but they kind of look like Pepsi and Coke cans. That's just kind of my interpretation of it. So,
what's wrong with that? Are you an RC kind of guy?
I don't know. I kind of expected something better, but I mean, they're fine. I wouldn't mind buying one of those Spurs ones. I kind of like the way they look, but we'll see. Austin Spurs also announced their current roster and camp invites for the upcoming season. Yesterday, we also did have the D-League draft. Go Spurs Go Memes favorite Jimmer Fredette did go in that draft yesterday. He was drafted second by the Westchester Knicks, the affiliate of the New York Knicks, of course. So he's going to be with them, and the number 1 pick overall by Idaho, which is the Jazz affiliate. They took former Spur Jeff Ayers, so 2 Spurs names up at the very top.
Very good.
But just, to kind of run down the list real quick, there are some familiar names on here for the Austin Spurs camp invites, like I was saying. Bryce Cotton is going, Gerald Eddy, Orlando Johnson, Caddy Lalane, who was last year's Spurs draft pick, Yuso Indoy, who was on the Spurs roster before being waived, along with Kiefer Sykes and Deshaun Thomas. They're all 3 of them, I should say, are with the Austin Spurs for camp. Mifon Udofia, Devondrick Walker, who's a former from A&M Commerce. Julian Washburn, who was also picked up by the Spurs and waived right away. He'll be with the Austin Spurs. And Keith Wright. ESPN also announced this week that they're pulling the plug on Grantland, so Grantland no longer exists.
That's our time to shine, guys. We're going to step in.
Take over for Grantland. Go Spurs meme land. Let's see what else is going on. Mel Daniels, the Hall of Fame center with the Indiana Pacers, passed away at the age of 71. Indiana's Paul George was fined $10,000 for public criticism of officiating following a game in Toronto on October 28th. $10,000.
Meh.
It's just a pocket change for them. The Clippers' Austin Rivers was also fined $25,000 for tossing a seat cushion into the crowd.
That's just funny, though.
It kind of is. Yeah, it is pretty funny, but...
Is it a hard cushion? No, it's soft. I mean, it's you threw a pillow across the room. Just relax.
Yeah, but that could end up in a lawsuit. That's why he's getting fined, because somebody could get hit with it and be like, my eye, my clavicle,
Oh, my arm.
Yeah. So $25,000 fine for him. LeBron James, King James, is dealing with a bad back, but is hoping to play in all 82 games this season. So I think this past game, I think it was against Chicago, you kind of saw him laying on the floor with a towel, because his back was starting to act up and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Another thing to kind of notice as well is the Cavs have started kind of using Kevin Love as the center point of their entire offense. So everything's going to go through Kevin Love. And I think it has to do with LeBron's bad back. So
I just think if LeBron's going to play 82 games, they're not going to win it all.
No,
he needs to take his breaks. I mean, he's been everything for every team he's played for outside of one of the Miami years when D-Wade and Bosh actually helped a lot, but he's the primary guy for the majority of the time. He can't play all 82.
Yeah, I mean, he carried that entire team during the finals last year. It was all LeBron, and, they lost to the Warriors, but having to do that for a full 82 games. Kyrie Irving still isn't back. Supposedly he'll be back in December or January. Iman Shumpert is also out. He's not back till January. And then finally, Kevin Love is back. Kevin Love looks pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I mean, so we'll see what happens with the Cavs there. Pelicans waived Nate Robinson, but are in talks to re-sign Tony Douglas, who they waived earlier this year.
Which is surprising because Nate was a starter.
Yeah, but they waived him.
Yeah, they're like,
they're like, we don't want him. Let's see what else is going on. Okay, so for the D-League draft, like I was kind of telling you, Austin Spurs, they had the 16th pick, and with that, they took Jean-Victor Unjul from the Lyceum Pirates, and just to kind of list some of the other picks that the Austin Spurs picked up, they did get Rodney Glasgow from VMI, Ruben Gilindo from LaSalle, Mohamed Ndoye from Texas A&M Commerce, and Musa Abdel-Almin from Troy. Now, per Bovada, the odds to win the Western Conference for the Spurs is 5-2. For the Golden State Warriors, it's 11-4, and for the OKC Thunder, it's 4-1. Thoughts on the odds?
Generous. I think Houston's going to be a bigger problem than a lot of people are seeing so far.
I don't know
and
about
the Clippers, I think, are actually going to still be pretty good.
That I'll agree with. Anyways, what do you think, Jack? How about those odds?
Don't underestimate Golden State.
I agree.
They're the champs for a reason.
Yep. And if you've seen any of those Golden State games,
Yeah, Steph Curry, I think, had 24 points in the first quarter.
Yep.
I think he's averaging like over 40 a game right now. I mean, he's just legit point guard, on fire, MVP.
And he's coming back. I mean, he's been healthy the majority of last year. And the year before, that second half of the season, he was still healthy. This is the longest stretch he's been healthy since the beginning of his college days. So it's kind of scary.
Yeah, he's looking fantastic. Okay, and now also odds to win the Southwest Division. The Spurs are 10-13, Rockets 2-1, and Memphis is 13-2. Thoughts?
What makes them say 10-13?
I don't know where they come up with these random.
I don't know.
I don't know where they come up with these random numbers.
That's kind of weird.
Like, why didn't they go with
I don't think I've ever seen them.
they're 21 out of 45. Like, I don't
know.
I think Memphis should be better odds. Memphis is a good team that plays the Spurs very well, and they play the oldest school of basketball where it's two big guys inside and they don't shoot the three.
Well, I
they
think,
rebound.
I think a lot of that has to do with the shadow of the Spurs, the Rockets, everyone else. Memphis really didn't add anybody to their roster. And so I think that's why people are kind of forgetting about them. But you are right; they still are a legit team.
They're a tough team
in the Southwest and in the West. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then, sadly, finally, of course, last week after we recorded, we heard on Sunday that Flip Saunders passed away at the age of 60. So if you've watched any NBA games this past week, you saw that pretty much every game had a moment of silence for Flip. So it's a sad day. He did pass away from cancer. He was under treatment. Complications arose, and he did pass away.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a bit. And we're back, and now it's time to talk Spurs basketball. 3 games in a week, boys. We had OKC on Wednesday, the Nets on Friday, and then, of course, today,
Celtics.
The Celtics. Spurs broke a record today. 541 games won by the trio of Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan. And what's even crazier about that is that they topped Parrish, Bird, and McHale in Boston. Like, that's pretty freaking awesome to do.
It's almost poetic justice.
It really is. Like, that's just freaking awesome.
I wish all 3 of them were there to hand over the mantle.
Here's the mantle. Take it.
Well, I guess let's start with Wednesday's game, OKC. A lot of positives, lots of negatives with that game. Buddy, you and I keep bringing up transitional D. The Thunder completely abused that.
Yeah, there was no existent transitional D in that game.
None whatsoever. We had no answer for Russell Westbrook. which is just a
we ever?
glaring problem. No, yeah.
I have to agree with Sean there. I mean, it's not like I expect them to control Westbrook. I mean, Westbrook has always been a thorn in the Spurs side. I mean,
Right.
and I don't expect them to keep him to below like maybe 25 points. I can live with that, right?
Yeah.
But I just cannot live with easy transition buckets when he's getting layups untouched.
Mm-hmm.
He can barely shoot a jump shot on that place. Why not? Why aren't we forcing him to shoot jump shots most of the time?
Well,
That's
he's
the
fast.
part that
Yeah,
bothers
and
me.
if you noticed, a lot of it was just people, from the Thunder just going right up to the basket for a layup. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there was no defense in the center lanes whatsoever. And that was my biggest gripe of the night on Wednesday was that, there was no defense. Transitional D was absolutely horrible.
There wasn't a lot of communication either, especially in the transitional defense. And even rebounding, you saw a lot of guys going for the same ball when there was no OKC guys around.
Right.
And I'm like, they're still getting used to each other. It's going to take a little time. I mean, we have I would say 2 prominent players are going to see the majority of the minutes that we didn't have before. I mean, we have David West, and then, of course, we have Aldridge. Since they're taking up a majority of minutes now that from guys that were either there or no longer there, it's going to take a little while for chemistry. And I definitely think OKC exploited that fact.
Exactly. And I think, too, like even OKC's backup point guards were able to exploit the Spurs as well. Parker didn't have a good night.
No.
Couldn't defend anybody. His shot was not falling whatsoever. And so even when OKC brought in their backup point guards, they just abused us. Like, they were just getting to the basket, getting their shots.
And they had their chance at will. I mean, they pretty much got what they wanted when they wanted. And then when we weren't executing, especially when it came around to the fourth quarter, and I'm sure you'll get to, they just really took advantage of that point. They had at the point in the fourth quarter in the last 2 minutes that the Spurs could have just taken over the game. But like about 2 or 3 boneheaded plays pretty much just blown that. And we pretty
that's
much
the
lost
thing, though,
ourselves.
as you bring up a very good point, is that, they didn't have the best game, but we kept the game very, very close until about the final minute. And then, OKC kind of increased their lead a little bit. But you think about if we played better defense, we got more rebounds, our baskets fell when we shot.
More free throws made.
More free throws made. Oh, the free throws, too. Oh, I can't believe. Oh,
Yeah.
That was just another thing that frustrated me. But
Well, the other thing is, people have to remember this about Tony Parker. He doesn't do well against larger point guards that are very athletic. I
Right.
mean, he used to get killed by Gilbert Arenas. I mean, I think Gilbert had a couple 30-point games. I even think he had a 40-point game at the beginning of a season. I want to say it was 2003. He doesn't defend large point guards very well. And with Russell Westbrook, I mean, he's an amazing basketball player. We're always going to have trouble with
and it's
that
like
type.
pick your poison. You're
Right.
either Westbrook is going to go off or Durant's going to go off.
And the thing is that there's some excuse there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that if Parker's going to be stuck on Westbrook, then okay, you're going to have a mismatch without a doubt, right? But it's not like Green could have not been on him consistently throughout the game. Green was going to guard Andre Roberson, who averages about 3 points a game. So you're not looking for that guy to be an offensive genius. Stick Parker on them. Don't get caught on the switches, and that's what was happening a lot.
Yeah.
Is that it was a simple pick and roll issue that was going on most of the time. Parker would be stuck on Roberson for a while. Westbrook would either take it top of the key, would take it on the corner, and then he would just pick him off, and then he'd be stuck on Parker with Westbrook. And then that stuff just shouldn't happen. If Green's going to stick with him, then Green sticks with him. He goes under the screens, and if there's some kind of like a pick and roll situation, then Leonard comes over and just sort of like closes it off. But then it was continuously happening where Parker was getting caught on the switches.
Yeah, and just kind of right back to Westbrook real quick. We talked about Stephen Curry, about how an amazing season he's having for Golden State right now. So Russell Westbrook is actually averaging
Michael's
40 and a half points per game right now. That's
pretty good.
than Steph Curry.
Yep.
So, I mean, like I said, pick your poison. Either Westbrook is going to go off or, Durant is. And Kawhi was all over Durant.
Yep.
He was
Kawhi-
completely over Durant.
He outplayed him.
Completely outplayed him, which was kind of awesome for Durant's first game back and for our first game of the season, to see Kawhi, both sides of the floor. He basically took over. But, again, we had some, Aldridge didn't play too well.
No.
Missed rebounds, missed baskets. But you think about it, I mean, it's their first full game as a team.
I would like to see more from Rashul Butler.
Yeah.
I think he can be I think he can contribute definitely a lot more than what we're giving him right now. I just want to see them explore that, maybe, especially, I think we have New York coming up.
Yes.
I would like to see a lot of minutes put with him in there just to see what he can do. Because the flashes that he had in the OKC game, he looked pretty good. Like, he was keeping up with the guys. He was keeping the defense in front. I mean, he was looking okay.
Yeah. So let's kind of go to the next game after the OKC game, which it was the Nets game, the home opener, Friday night. Very, very exciting. Brand new AT&T Center. It's finally completed. You could see the excitement from all the fans. Fox Sports Southwest is now doing satellites from inside the AT&T Center where they kind of talk about the Spurs and everything. So that was kind of cool to see on TV.
Wasn't that woman announcer amazing, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
I liked it.
And I wish the crowd right now could watch Ray's face.
Don't get me started on that. Anyways, so to the game, tale of two halves.
Yes.
First half was absolutely dreadful. I mean, I couldn't believe how we came out against Brooklyn. Like, it was just really, really sad. I don't even know where to start, buddy. You want to?
You can go like a whole bunch of different ways here.
Yeah.
First, you made somebody like Jared Jack look like a damn all-star,
yes.
right? Number one.
But
I
Jared Jack
mentioned
always
this to
plays
you.
the Spurs
Yes.
really well.
Well,
too.
not just that, but I was kind of telling Buddy while the game was going on is that the Spurs have a habit of making poor players look like all-stars when they play against us.
Yeah.
And Jarrett Jack is a perfect example of that. We made him look amazing that entire first half.
He looked amazing. He outplayed Parker. He was just running him ragged. And Parker, again, in this game, at the first half of the game, he looked awful.
Absolutely
Like,
awful.
he wasn't hitting his shot. He wasn't finding anybody offensively. It was just horrendous watching him. And then you're watching the defensive play of them. They pretty much got whatever shot that they wanted in the first half. Now, mind you, the Nets were making everything in the first half. Like,
Yeah,
I think
everything was falling
they were
for them.
over 50% for at least majority of the first half. So I was like, okay, look. And I told somebody when I was watching the game, I was at work when I was watching the game, and I was telling them, I was like, look, this is all great and everything, and everybody's saying, oh, look, they're going to lose. And it's like, no. This is the Nets we're talking about here, okay?
Yeah, we're gonna
They
win.
are awful shooting team, okay? They're not a three-point shooting team. Joe Johnson looked crap. He did awful in that game.
I think he only had one basket.
He only
2
had
points, something like
2
that.
points in that game, which I don't think I've ever seen a game where he only had 2 points.
Well, he was originally supposed to sit out that game from an injury, and they called him up last minute. I think they announced it like 30 minutes before the game. Like, he's hurting. I think it's his ankle, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, well, that could contribute a lot. I didn't know that, actually, so that's good to know.
And another thing in the first half, on the offense, the spacing was off, especially for any of the set plays. I noticed, especially down in the front, the swing forwards and especially Aldridge, they were just too close together, and a couple of the plays just didn't materialize the right spacing way, especially with the Spurs, the way they shoot, the way they want to shoot the three-pointer.
Right, and I just want Aldridge to be a little bit more aggressive defensively. I think he only had one block that night, a couple of rebounds. The transition defense was getting a little bit better, but again, tale of two halves.
Yes.
Second half, they came out.
They came out and they were on fire.
They
It
were
was
just
like all of a
completely
sudden,
on-
Parker
yeah.
has 6 straight points to start the half.
Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, he finally started hitting his shots. He was getting open. He was getting assists.
He was getting air underneath his legs on those jump shots. He looked like he was healthy, which we haven't seen even before when
Right.
he was playing for France during the summer.
Well, I think he reminded Jared Jack that who he was too. I mean, he purposely went at that first half against Jared Jack. He did a couple turnarounds and then he hit one just like one straight up in front of his face.
Yeah.
I think he was sort of reminding, hey, guess what? You're Jared Jack. I'm sorry. So it was a good thing that Parker had done that, and he seemed a little bit more in rhythm. Although again, he's still struggling overall offensively.
And for the game, the Spurs shot 46%. But that was because they had a phenomenal second half.
Yeah,
The
they're
first
lucky
half
to
was
get that
just-
46.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was just so bad, the shooting.
We had said that they were somewhere in the 30-something, 31 or 32
It
at the
was
end
really
of first
low.
half.
Yeah,
right?
it was very, very low, but they brought it back up. But that's how good the second half was for them. Now, we have to mention something real quick. Don't mean to cut you off there,
Yeah,
Sean,
go.
but we do have to mention that for this game, they did activate Boban Marjanovic.
Oh my God! Did
So
it ever
hashtag
erupt?
Boban
Boban.
Fett did get to play the game. He, I've said it before. When he comes into the game, the crowd goes nuts.
Yes.
They love when he touches the basket.
He's
basketball.
our giant.
Yeah, he really is our giant, and it's so awesome to see how excited people get to see him in the game. And he went off. I mean, we really saw.
What do you have? 6 points?
6 points, 5 rebounds in 5 minutes.
in
which
5
is amazing.
minutes for that.
Why
short
doesn't he
amount of
start?
time.
Oh God!
I think,
Saying.
Slow down.
I think my favorite part though of them activating Boban is that they made Bonner inactive.
Yes.
So I
And I
absolutely
love him
that.
even more now.
I wish that it would stay like that. Like they would just keep Bonner inactive, leave Boban on there, get him some minutes on the floor, let him go up against it. I'm hoping that they're going to activate him for the next game tomorrow. We still
They
haven't
should.
seen Jonathan Simmons yet. He's
Right.
been inactive. I'm still kind of weary of are they going to send him back up to D League for a while or what? But it really is awesome to be able to see Boban out there. Boban didn't play in the Celtics game today. They activated Bonner again. So.
Right, great. I guess they wanted a redhead there.
Just in case they need some street cred.
Look at the Irish.
Look at the Irish. Which I guess that moves us into the Celtics game today.
The Celtics game today. Yeah, I mean, talk about
Celtics look
bricks.
bad.
Yeah, the first again. It was again of the tail two halves. Although in a lot of ways, though, the Spurs they actually shored up a little bit more support for themselves. They were a disaster offensively for the first quarter, and then sort of at the end of the first quarter, going into the second quarter, they started to get a little bit more solidified in their shots. They started taking better shots, and then Aldridge all of a sudden, Aldridge just started hitting shots, and then now we get to see what Aldridge's game looks like. He finishes this game with 24 and 14, which is fantastic. That's his best game by far that we've seen him have.
And I think the thing is that you're starting to see now for the Spurs, it's going to become pick your poison.
Yes.
You can, block Aldridge, you can guard him, double team him, whatever. But then you got to deal with Kawhi over here.
Right.
And same thing, you're going to put more bodies on Kawhi. What's Aldridge going to do? And I think that's going to be the thing. But if you have a game where they both go off, you're screwed.
pretty much screwed.
You're pretty much screwed.
And we talked about this a little bit at the Thunder game. When I started watching the Thunder game at the beginning part, I started seeing some great things, like things that came to my mind. It was like, you saw where they were having isolation plays with both Aldridge and Duncan, right? And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I was like, look at this. If Aldridge, it was before Duncan got the ball in the post and they could double him and then they would always get him isolated and he would be screwed and it'd be hard for him to make a shot.
Right.
Now, you can't do that kind of stuff anymore because you have Aldridge on the other side who can shoot a weak side jumper and a very easy jumper for him. And mind you, his mid-range jumpers are great.
Yeah.
Or you could just take Timmy one-on-one, which... As we know, most people don't have great success with that. So it was you start seeing the possibilities, as Ray says. There's a whole world of possibilities.
Especially, the way they used to do it, if they threw it down to Timmy, they would have to. If Timmy got doubled, he would have to always throw it out to the 3-point line, and a lot of times the help defense would already be there. With Aldridge there, he could literally just throw it behind his head, and as long as Marc Gasol's not there, he's probably going to catch it and just throw in an easy layup. It gives you that extra dimension that you don't have to immediately throw it out. You can just take it and just throw it back in.
I'm a little surprised that we're not seeing a lot more over under plays that Duncan and Robinson used to do every so often, where they used to do little pick and roll off the top of the key, and then Duncan or Robinson would run for the alley oop. I haven't seen a lot of that.
And the reason
yet.
for that, I think they're just different players.
Yeah.
Robinson was a different player than Aldridge. Aldridge has a more complete game, I would dare say, than Robinson had. And so I think that's why you're not really seeing that between Duncan and Aldridge. But, we're 3 games in.
Right.
Who
small
knows?
sample size. Small sample size at this point.
Really
At this point, they could be sharing a brain by the end of the season, and then they're going to start throwing alley-oops every other play.
Exactly. You don't know what they're going to do, but they're looking
So far,
better.
every game's better.
Exactly.
It's getting better.
Just back to the beginning of this Boston game. Bricks, both teams. Neither team could hit anything. It was literally like somebody put saran wrap around the basket. Nobody could get it to go in whatsoever.
I messaged Dre. I messaged you, and I was like, God, I was like, did somebody put a lid on the rim? They were 5 minutes in. It's like nobody had made a basket. So then Leonard gets fouled, and then he shoots first free throw, and then he claims the free throw. And I was like, what's going on here?
That, I think, is going to be a concern because I really think it's going to be a concern that the Spurs need to start hitting their free throws.
Yeah,
because
and they will.
if you think about, they hit their free throws at the OKC game. That game's closer, or Spurs win.
Right.
And it's really sad to see these players get up there and it's clank. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm hoping that their free throw shooting is going to get better. Let's kind of talk about a little bit of the other plays. We've been talking a lot about Aldridge and Kawhi and Duncan, but Manu,
Ginobili's been playing really good, which we usually don't see too often.
Yeah, Ginobili's shot is coming back. He's making
his
plays.
legs are under him. When he's shooting, his legs are under him. He looks healthy when he's shooting, especially the jump shots.
I agree 100% with you, Sean.
His savviness is all there. I was talking about this one play where he had Sullinger on him in the play in the Celtics game, and he just straight up made Sullinger just look ridiculous. He got an offensive rebound from him. He picked it out of his hand, and then he goes back to the 3-point line. He takes a little up, and then Sullinger bites. He comes around him and shoots a 3-pointer, just completely swishes it. It's like, oh my God, Sullinger must have felt like the biggest idiot in town.
Just like a complete fool.
When him and Diao. Oh man!
And Diao looks fantastic.
Good.
Yes.
And the other thing that's making me really happy right now, and I was going to bring this up to you, is Mills. In this game in particular, Mills was
finally,
fantastic.
yes.
He was 3 for 3 on 3 for 3 from the field, 2 for 2 from the threes. So it looks like he's getting his shot back. These last 2 games, he looks a little bit better. He looked awful in the first game.
OKC, he looked horrible. The Nets game, he started making shots. He looked better. Playing the point, leading the charge. And then in this game, he looked even better. So I think you are correct that it kind of seems like Patty's getting his shot back. His court presence is better. And that's a good thing because that's what we need when Parker starts having a really off game. We need Patty to come in there or Ray McCallum to come in and actually lead this team. We really, really need that. Let's see who else. David West.
Yes.
I love seeing him out there. He's so aggressive, getting the rebounds, getting the shots. He's getting those easy baskets.
Yeah.
Which I'm
we
really
like.
surprised. I mean, we like it, but I'm really surprised that
I just think the opponents are just scared.
He didn't
I
play
don't
too much
think-
in the Celtics game. I think because they figured that Diaw was doing such a good job in the game that they kept him out of this game. I think he only had played like about 6 or 7 minutes in this game.
if you notice, I kind of feel like people don't know what to do with West.
Right.
When he comes out there, they're just kind of like, well, do we guard him? Can he make shots? What
Does
is
he
he
still
going to
have
do?
the mid-range jumper down?
And he does, and that's why he was getting a lot of those easy baskets. So it's fantastic to see David West out there. That entire second team, like I've
good.
been saying for the longest time, the chemistry is there. They can hold the lead. They can increase the lead. Ginobili, Diaw, West. They're just fantastic. It is a great group of guys that I think in any other team they could be starting. Let's see who else. Who we not talked about?
Kawhi?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Kawhi too much. That much. I mean, we've talked about a little. Like this game, he had 19 points. He had 5 rebounds, 2 steals, so it's typical Kawhi self. He's been averaging, I don't know exactly how much he's averaging. I know he's averaging somewhere around the 19, 20 point range already to start the year. So he's leading scorer for the team by far, I'm sure.
Right.
After this game, he's averaging 24 a game. Wow, that's right, because he had quite a bit in the first game. That's right.
Yeah,
Right.
So that's really good to start off the season for him. So, he's already started to show his consistency, showing maybe his MVP form. We're not going to get that
We're
far
not
yet.
gonna-
We're not
yeah,
going
we're
to
not
go
gonna
there
go there
yet.
All-Star. Let's start with All-Star.
Go ahead. We're going to go with All-Star
Yeah.
first.
I mean, we have legit 4 All-Stars.
Yeah,
I can see that.
I can see that.
Kawhi, him, Duncan probably and then maybe Parker if he can stay healthy.
I don't know if Parker would make it because I don't see the fans voting Parker in.
Right. I mean, you have too many point guards in the West that are going to make it.
Yeah, I was just
by
going to say
default.
that's the thing is because somebody on the Facebook page had kind of mentioned like I'm calling it now. Kawhi's going to start in the West the All-Star game, and I'm like, there's no way.
There's absolutely no way.
Because he won't get more votes than Durant will.
Correct.
So that alone right there
Well,
will
no, I
mean
mean,
that
they're
Kawhi
different
won't
positions,
start.
though, too.
No, they're both the same.
They're both the same position.
They're both the same position.
Durant's a small forward.
Yep.
Who the hell's the power forward?
Ibaka.
Yeah.
Ibaka.
And who's
Ibaka.
center?
Either Collison
or,
or
yeah,
Cantor,
Cantor.
or depending on which point, or Adams, depending on the game.
Adams.
Adams is good. I was watching that game. I was a little surprised. I was like, oh, look who has some wheels.
Yeah. That guy's. He was awful in that game though. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll
another
get
time.
into that later. Anyways, all right, guys, we'll be back in a bit.
Hello, who's there? It's time for Get to Know Your Spurs.
Welcome, everybody, to Get to Know Your Spurs. Of course, I am your host, Ray. I'm here with Jack and Sean, and we're going to kind of go over some awesome facts that you may not know about your San Antonio Spurs. First off, we want to say thanks to Jack for putting all this awesome info together for us. Jack, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. And I'll start with LaMarcus Aldridge because he's first alphabetically. So if you didn't know, LaMarcus Aldridge is from Dallas, Texas. That's where he went to high school. And then he just took a short trip down 35 to Texas, University of Texas, where he was in college. Right now, he is the highest paid Spurs player. Makes a little over, actually quite a bit over $19 million a year. $19,689,000 to be exact, according to ESPN. Of course, this is the first time that he's played with the Spurs. He was the second overall pick by Chicago, the Bulls, in the 2006 draft. However, he was traded on draft day from Chicago with the 2007 second-round pick to Portland for Victor Crayana and Tyrese Thomas. Crayappa? Fair enough. So he never really played for the Bulls. The 2 years that he did play at Texas, he averaged 13.5 points, 8.2 rebounds. So had a great college career. Just one of those Matt Barnes, right? The Texas coach.
Chip Barnes. Yes, sir.
One of the good, really good players that he's had.
Rick Barnes, sorry.
Rick Barnes. I knew it wasn't right.
Ricky.
Fair enough.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Fair
stuff.
enough.
Welcome,
All right.
welcome,
Well,
Marcus.
welcome,
Welcome,
LaMarcus.
LaMarcus. All right, my turn. I'm going to talk about Kyle Anderson, number 1 from UCLA, born in New York City. He's 22 years of age, and right now he makes a little over $1 million. Fantastic,
Not
Mr.
bad for a
Anderson.
22-year-old.
So Kyle Anderson was a first-round pick, 30th overall by the San Antonio Spurs in 2014. He played 2 years at UCLA and averaged 12.2 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 5 assists in 31.6 minutes.
Pretty good.
He attended his first basketball camp at the age of 3. His father was a high school basketball coach in New Jersey and groomed him to be a point guard. He was tall but didn't want to be pigeonholed as a post player. He had his son play with older players on AAU teams, so he was usually the smallest player on the court. Was 119-6 as a 4-year starter in high school, including 65-0 in his junior-senior year at St. Anthony's High School. His high school coach was Bobby Hurley, father of All-American at Duke and now head coach at Arizona State. He played 33 games with the Spurs in 2014-2015, averaging 2.2 points and 2.2 rebounds per game. He played 26 games also with the Austin Spurs in 2014-2015, averaging 21.3 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 4.8 assists. Mr. Sean?
Yes, I actually got to see him play in Austin, and he was something to behold. He was definitely the most talented player on the floor on either side of the court, and it showed very often. Well, folks, that time has come. It's time to talk about Matt Bonner.
I love that you drew him.
Yes. If you listen to this podcast, you know my feelings on Matt Bonner, but I'm welcoming him to get to know your Spurs nonetheless. He was a second-round pick, 45th overall by Chicago in 2003. He was traded by the Bulls to Toronto in 2004 for a second-round pick, and I was on draft day. He was traded to the Raptors from the Raptors to San Antonio with Eric Williams in 2009 for a second-round pick. Jack Clinton selected the Spurs for Rasho Nesterovic.
Rasho.
I got to admit, that's the only thing about this whole transaction I like, because I hated Rasho. Rasho was bad.
Wow.
He was a 4-year player at Florida.
Rasho was okay.
Yeah. And anyways, he was a 4-year player at Florida. He averaged 15.2 points and 6.1 rebounds as a center. He averaged 7.3 points per game in Toronto. And in San Antonio, he's averaged 5.6 points and 3.1 rebounds. The best year was 08-09. He played 81 of the 82 games, and he averaged 8.2 points and 4.8 rebounds a game.
Ooh.
He is a sandwich enthusiast. He has a blog titled "The Sandwich Hunter." The
It's pretty
Quest
good.
for the Hoagie Grail.
I just looked it up. He's got like 20, 25 different places he's been.
Is there?
26.
What's like the best sandwich that he has right now? Like, does he list them in order, like what the best sandwiches are?
Number 1, which I don't know if that's actually his highest rated sandwich or if it's just the first one he went to, in Bloomington, Indiana, at a place called the Village Deli.
What type of sandwich is it?
Is it delicious?
Let's see.
How many kinds of meat does it have?
Is it one of those Italian combos?
Oh, he writes a lot.
Does it have sausage and peppers?
He writes
love sausage.
way too much. Got to go to page 2.
Okay. Well,
okay.
anyways,
Way to take the wind out from either wings.
we're taking
Bonner.
Right?
Jack, the intern, is now in charge of trying to find one of the sandwich places close to either San Antonio or Austin, and one of us will try it. And
Oh,
actually,
yeah, there was one in Austin.
Folks, be on your heels for a future podcast. We will try one of these sandwiches out.
I actually think that's going to be part of Sean in the Street segments that are going to be coming very soon, where we send Sean into the street to find Spurs fans and other cool things that are Spurs related.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do. Find people in streets.
The first episode is going to be Sean on a Via bus, so that's going to be very, very exciting.
Oh, that'll be great.
You'll be able to identify me really quick, folks. But the last thing, he's received the nickname the Red Rocket, not only for his red hair, but he's also a consistent use of public transportation in Toronto.
See, it's a sign, Sean.
And why are you even comparing the two? And the slogan that the Toronto Transit Commission used to say is "Ride the Rocket." But anyways, that is the story of Matt Bonner, the Red Rocket. He also was actually born. He's one of 2 NBA players to actually play from the state of New Hampshire. There's only ever been 2.
Wow.
I don't
That's
actually know
fantastic.
the other one, but the only reason I know this is one of my good buddies up in Austin, Chris, played basketball with his little brother in New Hampshire.
Wow, that's random.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
They text.
It is very interesting. Jack, how are we doing on the sandwich list over there?
Do we have a?
Do we have
Austin?
a
The Austin Daily Press in Austin.
Give me a street. We have a street.
It's sixth.
Oh, God. Sean on the street. A lot of slurring going to go happen on that one.
Dad,
They sell sandwiches
for.
for $6 a pop.
I'm there
Wow, that's
pretty good.
That's right within Sean's budget.
nowadays. But anyways, folks, that was Matt Bonner, and this is the first segment of Get to Know Your Spurs. We'll be right back.
And now it's time to talk football because yesterday was
SATURDAY.
That's right. Yesterday was college football. Had a lot of games yesterday, a lot of wins, upsets, just a great day of college football.
Yes, it was.
Where do you want to start, guys? What do we want to talk about? Notre Dame Temple?
Yeah, that was a lot closer than I was expecting.
That was a whole lot closer than I thought.
Temple's
24-10.
a very good defense.
24-20, sorry.
Yeah. I was really, okay, as the resident Notre Dame fan, I didn't think it was going to be a super blowout. I was thinking 10 points. But, man, that last drive when I'm like, oh, my God, are we really going to lose to Temple?
Yeah, I was very surprised by that. Stanford, Washington State.
Surprisingly good
That I
game.
couldn't
I
believe.
stayed up for that one.
Yeah, and Stanford only won because Washington State missed a field goal at the very end. Florida destroyed Georgia 27-3.
Shock, a little, actually, I was very shocked. I thought it would be at least somewhat close, and it wasn't at all.
Florida always destroys Georgia.
Does that mean Mark Richt is out?
Probably not. They haven't
Nah.
gotten rid of him before. I mean, it's the
that's
normal Georgia football team. I mean,
That's true.
They haven't gotten rid of him before, so I don't see why they would do that now. Oklahoma State, Texas Tech.
What a game.
70-53. That's just
The over-under in that
insane.
was 78. Like, Oklahoma State almost
almost
killed,
covered that by
covered those.
themselves.
I think it was covered by the end of the first half. Pretty much. Gotta love Vegas times.
Michigan, Minnesota. I don't know if you guys saw the end of this game.
that was a very good game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of tying the game, Minnesota went ahead and went to win the game.
Heck yeah.
They got
Do it.
stopped at the line. Michigan wins 29-26. What else happened that was kind of interesting?
Ole Miss Auburn was a little closer than I expected in the beginning, and then Auburn showed up as they usually do this year, and Ole Miss took it away.
Yeah. We got to talk about the Duke Miami game. That crazy ending.
I feel bad for Duke.
I really do. So I think the NCAA came out and said that there was a lot of
Shenanigans.
Oh yeah, there were like
the refs
five
were wrong.
things that were wrong. Like they missed a block in the back. They missed a player being down. They missed the guy coming on the field not being a player.
Like an
Oh
assistant.
snap! I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
no kidding.
no, it was like a player without a helmet, like ran onto the field before the play was actually done.
See, Ray, I could
Wow.
play college football.
It's true.
Like there was all kind of stuff, but it stays a win
It
for
stays
Miami.
a win for Miami. Poor Duke.
I'm still upset at UTSA this year. They lost to North Texas this weekend, and that's so sad.
What was the score for that game? I didn't. I knew they were playing-
30-23.
Wow.
30-23.
It's just, wow.
It
You
just,
know,
well, it is what
what
it is.
happened? What happened?
But what happened, Ray? I don't know what happened.
And that was North Texas' first
Let's
win,
talk.
too.
Let's talk
Yeah.
Aggies real quick, Jack.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Aggies. How'd
Yeah,
they
you
do
know,
this week?
they played well. 2 weeks ago versus Alabama, we beat ourselves. Last week, we got destroyed. So we finally
They
realized.
played last week, Jack.
Not on this podcast.
Not on this podcast. They didn't.
Yeah, something was up with Kyle Allen. I don't know if he was hurt or something. But they went with Kyler Murray, the freshman. It was his first start.
I liked him.
He played well, ran for 156 and a touchdown, threw for 223. I think I got a quote from someone. The biggest thing I thought he did was not force the game and not force things and let the game come to him. He guessed a little bit early on some of the quarterback read stuff, but once he settled down and actually started to read things out, he was very effective. I think when he played earlier in the year, he never knew when he was going to get put back in. He never knew how long he was going to play, and he tried to force things, which
He was just trying to make an impression.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's all
any
that
of us
was.
would have done in that same situation.
Let's see what else.
was a little-
Texas, Iowa State.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, that's just.
I'm sorry.
Nah, but Jack, it's okay.
That's just.
Don't worry about
I don't even know what to think of Texas football right now. I mean,
They were able to run, and then they weren't. And they can't throw.
they can't.
So
Yeah,
that was the end of that. Their defense didn't play terrible. I thought their defense
They didn't
actually
play well. I mean,
not well enough to win it on their own, but the
Yeah.
offense definitely didn't show up. And I think, I mean, Iowa State usually could have blown them out. I think. I mean, but that's just,
You give up 24 points to a guy who's getting his first start.
Yeah.
the Iowa State quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't. Yeah.
Hey, man, it happens.
Gotta love college football.
All right, let's go to the pros.
Yeah.
So of course today's Sunday, football day in America. Of course, the Dallas Cowboys lost today. They did lose to the Seattle Seahawks. Caw-caw.
Is that an egret or a Seahawk? But yeah, I watched the majority of that game today. It was just sad. They had no red zone offense. Everything was field goals. Even a great play by Greg Hardy. He tipped a ball at the line, caught it, and was on his way running it in. And Russell Wilson caught him with a shoelace tackle. And I was just like,
It ends
All
the
right.
way it does.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Right now, Broncos-Packers. Broncos are up 24-10 on the Packers. I'm kind of surprised by that. I really thought the Packers would be playing a whole lot better, but
Very much so.
Ray, that's thin air. These guys are used to eating cheese. They can't handle that thin air. What are you, nuts?
the Bucks beat the Falcons today 23-20 in
Sad
overtime.
day.
Surprising.
Yeah, I was very surprised
What
by
happened to the
that.
Falcons? They've fallen apart.
I don't know, yeah. But remember we kind of talked about, Jack, that they were kind of that team that would start off really slow
That's
or
true.
or would start really fast and then they would completely fall apart at the end. So it was kind of coming, We knew that was going to happen. Giants
Texans?
Saints. Oh, sorry.
Okay, let's talk Texans real quick.
Okay,
I'm so
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Woohoo.
The Texans won against Tennessee. They look good.
26.
In the second half, especially, their defense showed up way better in the second half. J.J. Watt's getting a lot of roughing the passer penalties the last few weeks.
I like
which
the
is,
aggressiveness.
I do too. What's his name? The other Clowney had to come out in 2 different times because of injury. It was lower leg, not a good sign, but I think he forgets that he's 6'5" and like 270, and he can just push people
Right,
over.
right.
But he's like, "Oh, I'm going to jump over." I'm like, "No, don't jump. Don't jump. Just don't jump."
Okay.
With that win, they are, if the Colts lose tomorrow
Which they
night,
probably
which
will.
they probably will, they are now tied for first in the division.
Wow, that's crazy as that.
Yep.
If they go to the playoffs,
Okay.
we're going, guys.
Giants Saints.
Wow. Techno Bowl.
52-49. The Saints pull that out against the Giants. I didn't watch the game, but I saw the score kind of going that it was super high and everything. But exactly like you said, Tecmo Bowl there. Bengals 16, the Steelers 10.
I watched the last couple minutes of that.
Los Tigres del Norte.
They came out with claws.
They are now 7-0.
For the first time, I think.
Who saw that coming?
One person.
Yeah, one person. That's exactly. We won't mention his name, but one person.
Oh, no, we're not going to say
We're
one.
not going to
Okay.
say his name.
Okay, my bad.
Let's see what else. Jets Raiders. The Raiders destroyed the Jets.
Kind of really surprised on that one.
I really was too.
Did not expect that to happen whatsoever.
Yeah, and then of course on Thursday the Patriots destroyed the Dolphins. The Patriots are just kind of
A machine.
They really are just a machine. So we'll see what happens there.
The Chiefs destroyed the Lions early in London today. That was a 45-10 game, and it wasn't close after the second quarter. Like, it was bad. But the best part is when you're watching it, they were panning to the stadium a lot, and there was almost no Chiefs or Lions fans. It was like a ton of cheeseheads, a couple Buccaneers fans, a bunch of Cowboys fans. I think London just decided to have football. They just don't have a team.
Was it Arsenal fans or Liverpool? They're like,
Manchester
wait a minute.
City.
These tickets lie. They say it's football.
It could have been. I mean, I was a little surprised. The Rams destroyed the 49ers today.
Do you think they're going to go and try to get an NFL team in London?
They've been
I
talking
don't
about
see
it.
why they would do that. It doesn't make sense, like, traveling. Oh, I mean, they got a week.
Well, what they said is they're going to do it, from what I've heard, if they're going to do it, they're going to have 6 games. And their 6 games are going to be all back-to-back. Whoever travels out there will have a bye week either the week before or the week after. And then, what was the last part of that? And then the Londoners.
Fish and chips for everyone.
Yeah, they're going to, fish and chips are coming stateside. And then they'll play their 8 games over here. That's what I've heard.
Interesting.
That's their
That's
main
crazy.
plan, which I don't think can work.
It's all
But
money.
is there a fan following for football in London? That's my biggest
They've
question.
already had, 3 games out there, and
Yeah.
from what I've heard, they've done pretty well. There's a lot of expats, as they say,
Yeah.
across the pond.
They're not fond of the Patriots.
No.
The Patriots, the Patriots.
The Ravens showed up, beat the Chargers, kind of surprised. They haven't really been showing up at all this year, and then they actually show up and beat Philip Rivers, Mr.
Yep.
Rivers.
And then, of course, tomorrow night we have the Colts and the Panthers, where the Panthers should go 7-0 against the struggling Colts. And Andrew Luck, that has basically just disappeared and is the quarterback in name only.
He's been injured. Man, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Did I mention already that the Seahawks beat the Cowboys 13-12?
I believe that was our first thing we talked about today.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I brought that up again. Again, Matt Castle, the answer to the question nobody asked.
Did Dez play?
Yes, he was suited. Excuse me. I don't know if he played. He was suited. He didn't look bad. Going back to the Texans, Hopkins. Jesus, talk about a good wide
He's a
receiver,
stud.
man. Had another touchdown. He's the Andre Johnson of the Texans, 12 years ago, 10 years ago? He's the only talent there is on offense, and we're sure using him, that's for sure.
And
All
I
right.
love it for my fantasy team.
And that's football, and we will be back in a bit. And now it's time for On the Fly, which is probably our favorite part of the episode. So today we are going to be talking about candy because yesterday was Halloween and we all got bags and bags of candy.
Baby Wolf.
So we'll talk about our favorite and our least favorite candies. Jack's going to look up some fun candy facts. What is that?
Ignore this, please.
All right, we're
that was
redoing
for the
this
last.
whole
No, we
thing.
can do it.
What
We can do it.
was that a candy sensor?
That was a candy. It really likes
Candy alert, it's all on sale.
Okay. So candies. Sean,
Okay,
what-
so Sean, what's your favorite candy, Sean?
Easily and not even close, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Can't help it. They're delicious. I love them so much. Least favorite.
Least favorite?
Oh, God. Probably just the Hershey Kiss.
Yeah, I don't like those either.
There's
Just like
you-
chocolate.
You got to unwrap it. You got to do all this work. And then it's like, meh.
Yeah, it's true. Frank?
my favorite actually are paydays. Love them since
Those
I was a
are-
kid.
that
It's
is
just
good.
like
Candy,
it's
yeah.
peanuts, which is healthy, and caramel, which is bad. So it's a nice balance all together. Least favorite is anything.
It's like a Cobb salad.
Yeah, well, the least favorite that I have. Delicious,
That kind
actually.
of.
Now I don't like paydays anymore. But paydays favorite, least favorite, or every time I went trick or treating. By the time I entered
Swedish fish.
35 and all. No, not Swedish fish. Actually,
weren't bad.
those old Halloween candies that were just labeled. They weren't even labeled. They were just orange and black. I think it was just taffy.
Oh, it was peanut butter,
but they're
right?
horrible. No, they
Orange
just
and
tasted
oh,
horrible. I think there was
I
some
know
type
exactly
of
what you're talking about.
taffy or something like that.
Those were
But
called poison
You
back
couldn't
in the
even
day.
you couldn't even buy them. That's the funny thing.
I
Is,
like
I always get them every year.
Ray, what about you?
My favorite candy are like spice drops or orange slices. That's my favorite candy.
Those are good.
That's good
It's
stuff
like,
there.
do you like Peachos?
I don't mind them, but they're not
I like
the same. Like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
not.
No.
They're
I
not the
agree,
same.
I agree,
Like
I agree.
orange slices, spice drops.
Least
That's
favorite.
my candy. Least favorite.
The M&Ms that you're eating right now.
No, I like those M&Ms.
I figured because you're eating them.
Oh God, he's got the M&Ms.
I do got the M&Ms.
I hope you get a red one.
I don't know what my least favorite candy is.
Really?
I don't. I don't. I don't
do you
care
like
for
chocolate? Do you like?
I don't mind chocolate, but I don't like hard candies. I really don't like hard
candy. Yeah.
candies.
So like Werther's Originals. Do you like those? Do you
No.
like butterscotch?
No, oh, I can't stand butterscotch.
There you go.
I like butterscotch.
No, but
So
another
gross.
one that I completely adore. I don't know what it's called, but like there's a white, like kind of zebra striped candies, and you bite into them. They're peanut butter.
Oh, but it's like a
yeah.
crunch. I don't know what
they're peanut butter.
yeah. That's good
Those
stuff.
were one of my favorites to get during Halloween, and of course,
It's the only time you can find them.
really.
No, you can get them year round.
Yeah, you got to look for them though.
Yeah, well, I mean, but they're only good once a year too, and that's what I always adored.
Ooh,
with
I
them.
dig jelly beans too. Like
Jelly-
jelly
Ooh,
beans.
you would have loved it because at the air show they had a
here
plane
we
that was
go.
covered in jelly bellies.
Wait a minute. We
people-
didn't ask Jack what
Yeah,
his favorite
Jack.
candy
Okay,
was.
yes.
Jack.
Red vines.
Ooh.
I'm not a chocolate fan, so I'm not a.
Well, you're not a sweet fan either. Like you don't
Correct.
like sweets at all.
Correct.
What about the least favorite? Like when you get it, you're like, ugh.
Baby Ruth.
So anything that's involving chocolate, I guess.
Yeah. Meh.
Pretty much. Okay, here's the question though.
Okay.
Which holiday has more candy bought?
Christmas.
Halloween,
Or Valentine's?
Easter, or Valentine's?
Valentine's, I would think.
No, I'm gonna say Halloween.
I'm gonna say Valentine's.
All right, so 90 million pounds of chocolate is sold the week of Halloween. 65 million pounds is sold during the week leading up to Easter, and 48 million pounds sold during Valentine's.
I believe I had that.
Wow.
Now, you know what would be funny to do to other people is save up your Easter or Valentine's Day candy. You know, the candy hearts or the Easter, the chocolate
Oh,
bunnies,
that
and
shit's
hand them
gross
out
too. I
at
don't like
Halloween.
candy hearts. That stuff's gross.
Candy hearts are good. If you get the good ones, are good. There's some that are like powdered.
It's the reasoning by Sean. If they're the good ones, they're good.
But don't eat them.
But
Give them
don't
away
eat
at
the
Halloween.
Don't eat the bad ones because they're bad.
Yeah, I didn't stutter. That's all truth.
But here's another. Speaking of candy, and I would get this when I was younger, and you guys might remember candy cigarettes. They don't make those
God,
anymore.
those are so
No, they
good.
do make
Unless
them.
you're in Mexico,
No,
right?
no, they do make them.
Really?
Yes.
What are you
What are
going
they
to
called?
Mexican
What are they
from
called?
I don't know.
Like dragon sticks or something like that. They can't. Not
Oh, yeah,
cigarettes
I think you
anymore.
are
Or
right.
something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. I
Those
Jack,
are always good.
Jack, look that up.
it was
See what you
gum.
can find.
I mean, it was the
candy
same gum that
cigarettes.
you would
They used-
find like in
They used to
Tops
sell them
and-
at Wynn's. Like, do you remember Wynn's little
Oh,
department store?
man.
They used to sell those and bottle caps. Oh God, a good bottle
Oh,
cap.
I love bottle caps. I mean, they always remind me of the zoo for some reason. But no, it was just soda and like the hard candy or
Yeah.
Fun Dips. That
Fun
one-
dips were good. I just didn't. It's like ring pops.
Do you remember back in the day when Sears used to have a candy shop inside of it?
I do.
So
Or
you
Garden
used to be able to
Ridge.
get.
That's-
Oh yeah, Garden Ridge too.
They used to have the little cherry ball, the wild cherry. Like they were almost sour, but they were. It was always a display. It was little like
Candy?
jelly beans, but they were bigger jelly beans.
No, I don't remember that.
I'll bring 'em
Where
next
at a Garden Ridge or
Garden Ridge used to sell them there, but they used to always have the orange slices. They always had like
Yeah,
taffy
yeah,
and other
yeah.
stuff. That
and
was so
turtles,
good.
like
Yes,
those freaking
yes.
turtles and stuff
Oh,
like that. But that's what I used to love about the Sears little candy shop is that you could get an icy, and then they had like all the candy there and popcorn.
It was like-
remember?
That's right.
It was
that's
like
right.
Target, the front part of Target.
Right.
But it was in the
Right.
back.
But it was in the back,
Yeah.
and it was all candy though. Like they
Yeah.
didn't have like pretzels and cookies and stuff like that Target has now. It was just straight up candy, ices, popcorn. It was just like a little snack thing.
Talk about how things have changed nowadays.
Montgomery
I mean,
Wards.
That was back when we had malls.
Yeah.
Everything's- Whoa.
And people went to Sears.
You can buy candy cigarettes on eBay or on Amazon.
I know
Oh.
what we're getting next week.
Well, as we mentioned, Halloween did just end, but we're going to talk about candies we're excited about in the future. Ray, go ahead.
Candies in the future.
Yeah, what do you want to have next year for Halloween? I'm thinking Heath bars. Anybody?
Heath. Oh,
I like Heath bars. Toffee's delicious.
Oh,
I
you
don't
never
like
go
toffee,
wrong
though.
with Snickers bars, the
Yeah,
fun
Snickers
size
good.
and everything else.
Freezer
like
'em.
that. But they
do-
do not make. I really wish I had more paydays. I mean, I don't trick or treat anymore. I stopped about 3 years ago.
You can get the little
But,
minis.
The mini, well, I know, but you don't. They're not giving them out to kids anymore. At least not in my neighborhood.
Go to the north side, Frank. I've told you for years.
I live on the north side.
but you know,
Farther
speaking of
north.
Snickers, I do love the new marketing thing that they're doing right now on the wrappers of Snickers. They like put different names on them. It says like
Oh, like the Coke
angry or
things?
like
Yeah,
drama
yeah, like a-
queen, things like that. I think that's pretty damn funny.
Yeah. But
Okay.
as with Halloween
what other
ending,
candies?
I don't know.
Ring
Pops. I hated those.
Oh, I don't like hard candy, so any of that stuff.
You know which one I couldn't stand? Are just Pop Rocks. I mean, it felt like it was trying to tear my tongue apart.
Can you imagine little Frank?
Oh,
with pop- my tongue. Ah!
It was more than
licking
that.
my
It was
mouth.
that high pitched whine, and then you're just rubbing your tongue the whole way. No. And to this day, and then my daughter loves them, and she shows me, and I just feel weird. It's unnatural to me.
That's so great.
Candy popping in your mouth.
Do you remember the popcorn
Kit Kats?
balls? There would be like one house that
You can
would give
make
you
them
like
yourself.
a home.
You can make them yourself.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying. They used to get those out at Halloween as well.
They still give them out.
Okay,
And toothbrushes and raisins.
nuka mind.
And razor blades.
Razor blades. We all didn't grow up with Ray.
Southside, yo.
These kids need a shave. I'm gonna give them razor blades. They're way too old.
Oh, man.
Barber saw. Thanks, Dad.
Dollar Shave Club.
But didn't you hate the one house that would give you floss or toothpaste?
I never had those. I
never had
It was
those,
always
no.
like raisins every now and then, which I always figured was a person who really wants to trick or treat, but like they forgot to buy all their candy, and that's all they had is the leftover raisins that they're going to make for Thanksgiving.
I remember the first year I lived in my house up in Austin. I completely forgot it was Halloween, and I heard the doorbell ring, and I was like, "What the hell? Who the hell's nobody comes to my house?"
You could just turn off your light.
My light wasn't on. There was no sign of habitation going on inside. And I go to the door, and the kid's like trick or treat. I was like, hold on. I had like a pack of juicy fruit, and I gave him one. Within 5 minutes, these kids are ringing my door. Are you the guy handing out the packs of juicy fruit? I was like, yeah, here. And then when I ran out, the doorbell was still ringing, and so I had to give out soup. Like I had nothing else to give.
Soup?
Ramen. Ramen. Hey kids, you want ramen or wild turkey? Which one do you want?
And then I was like, oh, everybody likes Worcester sauce. Here you go.
Worcester sauce.
It was bad. I completely, and then the next year, as soon as it started getting dark and I started seeing kids, I was like, I'm going to the bar.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Way easier that way. Way easier. But, Halloween is over.
Finally, it is over. There's no more candy to give out, no more costumes, which was, I don't know if you guys went by a Party City yesterday, but it was absolute madness.
No.
Well, this is all the 75% off kind of things and 50% off.
Yeah.
Go to Target, everything's gone.
Even,
I mean,
Walmart. I went to Walmart yesterday. I had to stop and get something, and it was just like their entire Halloween aisle was completely empty, and people were still fighting over the empty boxes and stuff, like they do at Walmart. But like we were saying, Halloween's finally over. On to the next holiday.
Christmas.
Exactly.
Yay.
I still like
Christmas
Thanksgiving.
carols. The weather is still warm.
You can still
and
swim.
You can still swim in shorts. I love my friends up north, though, because they always see me pictures of me in shorts, and it just blows their mind. Because right now it's like, it's zero, like below zero in some areas, and it's just, I love Texas. Who wouldn't love Texas?
I haven't even looked for a jacket yet. And we're
Well,
in
it's not
November.
time yet. Well, you do have a thick layer of fur
That's
on you, so
enough.
you're good. It'll last you for a while.
Kettle's getting kind of black over there, is it not, Ray?
Yeah.
Oh,
Anyways.
he's right. You are hairy.
I am pretty hairy. It's true. I'm
why-
not Sean Harry, but
We
I am.
we can't get too close to each other. It turns into Velcro.
The sparks start to fly.
So, like, when you dry yourself, do you just puff up?
No.
Nothing like that? No,
He
don't
gets-
shock your daughters.
he gets
anytime
dryer
like
sheets.
that.
Anyways, we got
so-
Christmas coming up. Are we going to play Secret Santa?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What secret do you have, Sean?
There's many ways I can go with that. I'm not. I think we should play. We announce it. We'll do a Christmas show. And give
What, you want to do like Kris Kringle and like
What's
Secret
that?
Santa? Like
Let's just do
same
Secret Santa,
thing.
yeah.
It's the same thing. I'm just saying like Kris Kringle.
Yeah, we can. That's fine.
Or do you want to do White Elephant?
No, we don't have the time to do White Elephant on the show. There may be 5 of us, but it'll take 2 hours.
Well, it's true. It would
Yeah.
take that long. Okay, well, we could do Kris Kringle. That's fine.
Yeah. What else?
What else? We're going to have to have... Oh, Frank, we're going to have our own Thanksgiving dinner, too.
Really?
The Thanksgiving dinner
Great. More
episode.
family issues that I got to deal with now.
I see a lot.
What do you mean
Chick-fil-A.
you're missing Thanksgiving dinner?
Sorry, guys, I can't go.
I told you. It's on this. It's on this text message.
Damn it, if Frank's not coming, who's bringing the gravy?
I love giblets.
Okay, we just better end this now. Anyways, that was podcast number 10. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. Of course, the normal crew here, thank you guys so much for everything. We will talk to you guys next week for podcast 11. More Spurs games, lots more stuff. Check us out, Facebook, GoSpursGoMemes.com. Also on Instagram and Twitter. We will talk to you guys very, very soon. And as always, Go Spurs Go.
Memes.
Even though a hot sandwich sounds pretty good right now.
It does.
You guys should have dinner with Frank.
Not that way, Bird.
Oh, hey, look, it's Jingle Balls outside the rim.
Well done, Sean.
Well done, John.